The family where bullying and harassing each other is fine, but not inviting them to the wedding? Blasphemy! The bridesmaid who's incredibly self-centered for wanting access to toilets. And the latest tale of Jocasta complex, brought to you by a mother who destroys an $11,000 wedding dress. Hello, you humans. Welcome back. My name is Jack. We've got some wedding-themed stories today, so let's dive in. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my cousin to my wedding? This story began all the way back in January with a recent update. Hello, Reddit. I'm a 23-year-old female, and I'm getting married this May to my long-term boyfriend, 27 male. We've been waiting to get married for about a year since we've been saving up our finances to move out, and now is the perfect time to start the process of getting married. I'm very excited. We have told our intermediate family so far, and they are all ecstatic for us and support us 100%. However, there is just one problem. I have a cousin who's a 25-year-old female who has bullied me my entire life. I do not want my said cousin at the wedding. Growing up, she made my life a living hell. She never missed a chance to make fun of me, and she used to physically bully me as well. I remember times she would make up scenarios and would tell me people from school called me ugly, fat, and stuff just to make me upset and feel insecure about myself. At one point, she even admitted she was jealous of me. That's impossible. No one's motivated to bully because they're jealous of you. It's because they're just naturally better than you at everything, and they want you to know it. That's science. These days, I feel like we're only civil because our mums are very close. Her mum is my mum's sister. This peace helps our family stick together, and there has been no major incidents since then. To this day, she still makes snide remarks or backhanded comments to me. I've come to realize that putting up with that toxic behavior is unhealthy, and this is my wedding day. I deserve to feel happy. I decided that I don't want to invite her to something that is supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. She doesn't deserve to be a part of my happiness. I told my mother this, and she was upset. She thinks if I invite my aunt's family and exclude said cousin, my aunt will be very upset and it will cause a whole family fight. My mom also said it will trigger her anxieties and make her feel uncomfortable at my own wedding. Aw, mom's trying to make the thing that's not about her. I told her if my aunt doesn't want to come because my cousin is uninvited, but redo that just in case because it was cutting out. I told her if my aunt doesn't want to come because my cousin is uninvited, I would have no hard feelings towards her, and I completely understand. This wasn't enough for my mom, and she was still upset at my response. She doesn't think it's worth not inviting my cousin for one day, and that it would cause a lifetime of conflict. Thankfully, my fiance thinks I'm in the right, and he personally doesn't want her at the wedding because of how she treated me in the past. He said it's our day, and we can choose who we want at our wedding. I still feel like I might be the a-hole for potentially causing drama just because of not wanting to invite my cousin. If you want full detail on what my cousin did to me growing up, I will put it in the comments below. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Yeah, we'll get back to you on that. Let's just find the tea. Oh, let's just find this gossip. Ooh. Now, before you want to immediately accuse the aunt of just letting this all slide because her daughter was her daughter and she's clearly a perfect angel, no one would she wouldn't cause harm on anyone. Well, in response to someone asking this sort of question, my mom has in the past, and so has her mom in regards to reprimanding my cousin, but she still continued anyway. She was the type of kid growing up that didn't listen to anyone, constantly got in trouble for it. In general, my cousin didn't care about the consequences my aunt gave her about anything. This is why parents need to apply the rule of if you can't use it respectfully, you don't get to play with it. So on that note, auntie, cut her tongue off. In regards to what this cousin did to her growing up, just to further justify why it's very necessary to not just be like, oh, you were just kids and stuff. Stop being so childish about it still. Grow up. As a younger girl, she would hit me, call me ugly, call me a lesbian. Yeah, I don't know why that, lol. Purposely always left me out while playing with the other kids, teased me for random things depending on the situation, wrecked my room one time, and ruined my birthday one year. As a teen and now, wow, why is that paragraph bigger than when you were a kid? Said people at school would make fun of me and call me various things, constantly compared herself to me, saying that people said we looked the exact same. Copy me, somehow got her hands on my DSi and deleted all my pictures on there, which were precious memories to me, and kept only 3 photos of herself laying on my bed. One time she insulted my hair and said I would be prettier if I straightened my hair. Told my brother I was a whore. Made up a whole situation that a random guy called me fat and blamed it on my younger cousin and another distant cousin, all while I was grieving my grandfather's death. That one was pretty recent. Made fun of me because I threw up after riding a carnival ride, said racist and offensive things about me. At one point said I wear too much makeup, but now she's so into makeup after years of praising herself for being natural. Okay, so my immediate first theory is that this cousin wants to wear your skin. Just like there's no way someone would go this far to bully and harass someone if they didn't just desire inspire them in some way. Either their life, their personality, their vibe, what they have, what they do, their skin, you know. That's what bullies in primary school did to you kids. They didn't just want to lift their own egos. No, they wanted to wear you like a suit. We now move on to just 6 days ago with a more in-depth update to the scenario. Choosing to read this one over the more shortened version because there's a lot of information that details as to why OP is completely cutting Mother's side of the family out of her life. My fiance and I decided to just have a basic elopement. No celebration, no after dinner, nothing. We might go on a honeymoon afterwards. We aren't sure where to go, but I'm sure it'll be fun with no drama. We also decided to postpone the date of our elopement for a later date. As for the conversation with my mother, a couple of days after I posted the original Reddit post, I talked with my mother. I told her I am not having my cousin at my wedding. I don't care that she will be upset. It's my day, and I say who goes and who doesn't. After I told her, she just sat there in silence. When I mentioned everything my cousin did to me in the past and told her that she did nothing about it, she got defensive. She said she tried everything that she could, but I really don't believe that. A couple of days ago, I went on a hike with my father. Parents are divorced, and I told him the situation briefly. He decided to give me the full rundown about my mother's family, which was a very long conversation. He did not hold back. To no surprise, my father said throughout the marriage with my mother, she always chose her siblings and mother over my father and her children. There was no boundaries on my mother's side. Everyone was in everyone's business. He told me about the bullying I received from my cousin from his perspective. To be more specific, it started when I was 1 year old. My cousin at the time was 3. How did he find out? Well, when my parents were still living with my grandma, Mom's mum, my cousin asked my dad allow her to go upstairs with me in my bedroom alone. My dad didn't know about anything at this point, so he allowed it. My mother then started getting hysterical, and my grandmother told my father that it wouldn't be a good idea for that to happen. He then asked, "Why, she's only 3 years old?" My grandmother told him that my cousin would hit me and be violent towards me. They said it was going on for months. The reason why they did not tell my father was that I wouldn't remember it, and that they were just kids. Yes, you are just a kid. A 1-year-old at that. I think it's very important to know if you're being physically assaulted. My father was furious and tried to do everything in his power to protect me and my younger brother. Since my brother was a newborn at this time, my father did not know if they would go to him next. Throughout the years, my brother didn't receive as much bullying as I did. The lack of discipline that my aunt's kids received when I was a kid made it easier for my cousin to be nasty to me. My aunt didn't do anything from what I heard, and my mother didn't do anything. My cousin also told my father that she hated me, and she hated my existence when she was 5. My father's theory on why my cousin was so hateful towards me was because she was the first granddaughter to be born for a while, since my older 2 cousins are 20 years older than us, since my other aunt, not cousin's mum, had them as a teenager. Right after my cousin was born, her brother was born, and then it was me. My aunt and my mother tried to make us like twins. Same outfits, same everything. My cousin did not like that because she wanted all the attention to herself, which caused her to start bullying me at a very young age. Any chance my mum would get, she would bring me and my brother to her side of the family. It didn't matter where we were at. I never really got to know my father's side of the family that well from that. The part that hurt me the most was not really knowing my dad's mum. My mother would always limit contact with her on purpose because my mum didn't like that there was other influences in my life that wasn't her family. It hurt so much because all the times I remember my grandma, she was always teaching me how to fight and defend myself against my cousin. She told me to always hold my ground. I knew she loved me with all her heart, and I loved her too. I wish I had a better relationship with her. So I'm going to keep my distance from my family and keep working hard to save my money so I can move out for my mother's house. I understand now that I cannot be around my mother's side of the family at all. It would be a very unhealthy environment for my future children and husband. I don't want to make the same mistakes my mother made. I want to be the best role model my family could have. So that's basically it with the update. I will update more if there is anything else to update, but I just wanted to thank you guys again for giving me the best advice to follow and keeping up with my story. Thank you! Just to highlight another comment regarding the dad's efforts to stop all this happening. He tried to do as much as he could, but he worked 12 hours a day, 2 hours away from where I live, and my mom did not work at the time. Every time he tried to do something, apparently my mom would get pissed. So yeah, fair to say that's been a good choice that they've made. Now over to a wedding story that was recent and updated just the day after. Am I the a-hole for making my brother's wedding reception about me? I'm a 25-year-old female, a bridesmaid to the fiancé, 30-year-old female, of my older brother, 31. She and I aren't particularly close, but I don't dislike her, and I suspect she asked me just because I'm my brother's sister. I, of course, agreed, and I was even fine with her putting me in whatever style she wanted, so long as I didn't involve getting cutting or dyeing of my hair, you know, any major changes. It's not my day. I can suck up an ugly dress and act like it's gorgeous if that makes her happy. The issue, however, is that I'm a wheelchair user. I know that the wedding venue is fine for me as it's our local church, totally accessible, so all good. It's the venue being used for the reception that worries me. I asked her where the reception was going to be and if it was accessible for me and had an accessible bathroom. You know, just covering my bases. She didn't get back to me. I figured she was busy, so left it a week or so before chasing her up again to re-ask. She told me she wasn't sure, so I asked where it was, and she told me. I ended up looking up the building and my heart sank. It is an old building, not accessible at all for me, and no bathrooms I could feasibly use either. I told her this, and she got very upset, saying my brother had told her that he'd cover the cost, and she should just pick whatever she loved, and that she loved this. She then went on to suggest that we could just have someone carry me into the building, and my family or the other bridesmaids could help me use the bathroom when needed, which the very idea of mortified me. I'm not about to agree to being carried in and needing help to go to the bathroom. I ended up giving her two options. If she wanted me at the reception, she needed to pick somewhere that was accessible. If she didn't pick somewhere accessible, then I'd of course still be her bridesmaid at the wedding, but I'd have to skip the reception. She got upset at this as she feels like everyone, especially my family, will notice my absence and question it, and it'll make her look bad. She then told me I was making this about me, which wasn't fair when it was her day. The old defensive switcheroo. I won't lie, at this point I was enraged. I wanted to tell my brother to let him sort this out, but I wasn't about to start stuff between them over this, and I pointed out to her that yes, this was her day, and I had no intention about making it about me. However, by marrying my brother, she was joining our family, and she needed to realize that she was not as sensitive as she thought she was, and suggesting that I be carried into the building and aided going to the bathroom was downright insulting. This led to a larger fight, and she told me if my brother didn't already know I was her bridesmaid, that she'd not want me to be it anymore. I called it quits at that point and told her she had my two options and it was up to her which she wanted. Am I the a-hole here? I don't feel like asking for the minimum accessibility is a lot, but maybe I'm too upset by the situation and her suggestions to see it clearly. Let's read some opinions. You're the a-hole for being in a wheelchair and inconveniencing your sister-in-law on her big day. Let's maybe not read some opinions. I mean, clearly, OP, you've got the best option here, which is go to the reception and just use the bathroom wherever you are. Enjoyed that meal? Let everyone at reception know about it. Don't worry about giving a gift to the bride and groom at the reception. No, you've got a great gift to give to them. A lovely musky scent to serenade the nostrils of the people participating. At the same time, though, I do understand the sister-in-law being a bit in a panic here for, I mean, what's she gonna do? Just cancel the entire reception and try and book somewhere else last minute? I certainly doubt they have the funds for a second option. But as I'm sure you'd also retort, this is something she thought, this is something she should have thought about in the first place if she was going to have a bridesmaid in a wheelchair. Not every person bound in a wheelchair enjoys being that damsel in distress and getting carried around. I mean, I like to personally, but not everyone who's disabled, okay? Anyway, on to the update the next day. Hi everyone, here's an update to the situation. As many of you suggested, I checked in with my brother and told him what was going on, and I found out that the reason he'd left the reception to her was they'd made an agreement with him covering the ceremony and she'd cover the reception. We're Catholic, so he cared more about the religious side of the event, while she cared more about the reception and party, as she's not religious, which isn't a bad thing, just different. I showed him the texts and explained what had happened. He was mad at her suggestion I be carried into the building and assisted in going to the bathroom, and after only a quick search of the venue, she'd picked he could also see it wouldn't work out for me and promised he'd resolve this and have a talk with her. He was annoyed at me for not bringing this to his attention sooner and told me I shouldn't worry about his feelings over this. The best part of all of this, the venue isn't even booked yet. He had assumed she'd pick out somewhere accessible, but has admitted that he should have ensured that and not thought it had given. So he has told me he'll see it's changed, and if it isn't, they have a bigger problem on their hands. Well, that resolves the booking issue. The part that really got him though was the admission that she didn't want me as her bridesmaid if he didn't already know, and he told me in that case he didn't want me being her bridesmaid and instead wanted me to be his groomswoman, which I agreed to. I've yet to hear back from him on what's happening, so I can only wait and see. I'll update further when I know more. Sadly, it does end there without a full conclusion as of yet, but in the meanwhile, it is fun to reflect on the sister-in-law's logic here. If people know what I'm really like, they'll recognize that I'm an a-hole is never as strong an argument as a-holes think it is. This will make me look bad. Good. Maybe you should care about behaving better then, because that's what's causing you to look bad. Anyway, this is far from over, so for now, let's move on. Now onto a wedding story that's more about the mother-in-law, and this is the just wall of trigger warnings. So have fun with this snowball effect of drama. I caught my future mother-in-law trying to squeeze into my wedding dress. Spoiler, it didn't go well. I'd been engaged to my fiance for a year. We're planning to be married in December in Colombia, and of course, I'm beyond pumped. It's going to be a destination wedding for us, and I was very happy that I was able to talk him into having one. But my soon-to-be mother-in-law is extremely upset about this. I always knew that she wasn't really my biggest fan. She's polite and very fake-friendly, but she'll do things like sit on my fiance's lap, or tuck his hair behind his ear, and cut his food for him. On one occasion, I actually saw her actually feeding him in public. However, to my fiance's credit, once I told him that I thought that was beyond weird, it never happened again. Future mother-in-law is very upset about our destination wedding. She thinks we'll all be murdered. I roll. Complains constantly about the cost of her airfare, the size of the wedding, the guests that won't be able to come, the thought of my fiance getting malaria, the fact that she hates no one in Colombia speaks any English. You get the picture. I try to limit her exposure to my wedding planning, though when I do this, she complains to my fiance behind my back on how she's being excluded. Gee, mother-in-law, I wonder why! She came over yesterday, theoretically to see our new house, but instead offered the following criticisms. She hates my engagement ring. It's far too extravagant, and there are children starving in Africa, and people die for these rocks. It's moissanite. Okay, does the mother-in-law know that it was her fiance who would have picked out that ring for her? Our house is an extravagant display of wealth and just isn't us. It's a townhouse that we got a steal on. I'm getting fat. Need to watch the calories so I can fit into your dress. Future, meanwhile, is bragging about her diet and how chic and slenderizing her mother-of-the-bride dress is. This delightful conversation was interrupted by my fiance asking me to help him put a bed in the spare guest room together, so I left future mother-in-law to her own devices and Netflix while I helped. About 40 minutes into assembly, I went to go take a bathroom break and headed into the master bedroom. And what do I find but future mother-in-law struggling to yank my dress over her head, but was freaking stuck. I blurted out, "What the hell?" And she immediately started stammering, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh god!" At that point, my number one concern was her tearing the sheer backing of my dress, so I rushed over to help her. It was all for naught, as she managed to scratch her way through the back of the dress and completely destroy the sheer material. She burst the side zipper of the dress and got a dirty footprint on the train. I asked her, as soon as I got her out of the dress, I want to note, with huge amounts of disgust, that she was wearing no underwear. What the hell she was thinking? She responded that she was just trying to make sure the dress would fit me, because if the dress fit her, then it would absolutely fit me too. If it didn't fit her, then I obviously had some work to do. Never mind that I just had my final fitting and it fits like a glove. My future fiance is very disturbed by what happened. I'm also disturbed, mostly because I doubt she was just trying to try on the dress for funsies. There was also a bouquet of dried flowers on the bed that wasn't there before. I think she was actually trying to pretend she was the bride, which, for so many reasons, is so so wrong. She hasn't offered to pay for any of the repairs to the dress. A section of the train is ripped. I have no idea how much it's going to cost until I can get to the seamstress tomorrow. In the meantime, in lieu of an apology, she's lecturing me on spending so much money on a wedding dress, and clearly the trouble she had getting into the dress was a sign to get something less dramatic and ostentatious. It's taking everything in me to tell her to not pound sand. I'll wear my freaking Galia Lahav dress to my goddamn grave, and she'd better not say anything about it. The OP added some extra info as to why they haven't gone scorched earth into this situation. Namely because, though the fiancé does seem to be disturbed by his mother, a lot of what she done is just the norm to him. Like, it's not so much that he thinks she's disturbing or creepy, but just he understands that people might find it creepy. And in regards to how the fallout happened, and if the fiancé and mother-in-law just put her clothes on and acted like nothing happened for the rest of the day, the short answer is no. I had a full-blown panic attack. I was screaming at her. Apparently I was shaking the dress at her. Then my fiancé intervened and grabbed me out of the room. Claims that he told her to get dressed and leave. I don't remember this, but I was also in the middle of trying to breathe and not throw up. By the time I had calmed down and was on the couch, she had vanished. Opie also notes that up until now, she's had very limited contact with the future mother-in-law due to the long-distance lifestyle, and she doesn't think it's coincidence that the mother-in-law chooses to move back after the fiancé shut down her suggestions about the wedding. So yes, the moment her son is suddenly saying no to Mummy Dearest, well, that's just wrong. How dare my big, strong, independent man have his own opinions? So what's the result on the dress a few days later? Well, not really good news, considering this popped up in r/legal advice. My mother-in-law ruined my wedding dress by attempting to try it on. It's beyond repair. Can I take her to court? I'm located in Virginia. I purchased a wedding gown that cost me over $11,000, then paid substantially more in alterations. Over the weekend, my future mother-in-law decided to attempt to put on my dress and failed horribly. Long story short, it's beyond repair and completely ruined. I also have reason to believe that she caused deliberate damage to the dress because of certain areas that were torn. My fiancé doesn't believe that we're able to take her to court and recoup the money because it's just a dress, and he thinks the cost of the dress doesn't mean some financial threshold to sue her. I want to know if that's true, and if it would be feasible to file a police report on her because of the more deliberate damage. I know it's just a dress, but this goes beyond the dress. Immediately seeing the red flag in the fiancé when he considers $11K not worth suing someone over. And sucks for the mother-in-law, but according to some comments, it is absolutely possible to sue her for the value of the dress plus alterations, if you can document that the dress is beyond repair. However, this is not taking into consideration the relationship aspect of the issue, so you'll want to take this there and get some more practical advice, and how it's going to affect your relationship with your future husband. So with this possibility to sue in mind, the OP returns a couple of weeks later to the Just No Mother-in-Law subreddit. The wedding is off. First things first, the wedding is off. We are still together and remain engaged, but things are very, very strained between us. The only thing that has really stopped me from leaving this relationship is that I love him from the bottom of my heart. I can see how much this is hurting him. I really want to work past this if we can. We're both committed to seeing a couples therapist. Okay, no, this is clearly a fake story. There's no way any sort of couple on Reddit would agree to seeing a therapist together mutually. Impossible. After future mother-in-law ruined my dress, my fiancé confronted her by telephone and demanded that she help cover the damages to the dress. She refused because she said it was an accident, and she really was just trying to help. She literally tried to spin this as her freaking helping me by, and I quote, giving her a standard to aspire to. And she also admitted that she just wanted to feel young and beautiful as me. The worst part is that he believed her bullshit. At this point, after she refused to pay, I started pitching a fit until fiancé said that we shouldn't jump to conclusions on the damages until we visited the seamstress. Fine by me. We went together and the assessment was that it was completely trashed. It is beyond repair. The beading in some parts is absolutely destroyed. The sheer back of the dress was torn to shreds from her disgusting fake nails. She also ripped the tulle on my train, and the seams were split so badly, and she tore through the other parts of the dress to the point where they were beyond repair. Hearing how badly my dress was mutilated crushed me. me. But my fiance's reaction at the seamstresses enraged me. He kept minimizing the damage, pointing out how certain things absolutely could have been an accident, and he lied out of his butt to the seamstress to tell her that the dress had an accident when his mother's attempted to relive her model days. I corrected, of course, and said no, that she tried to put it on without my permission, knowing damn well that she didn't fit into it, deliberately destroyed parts of it in the process. But the real fun started when we got home, and I told him that if she didn't pay, then I wanted to sue her for damages to the dress. He told me some bull smack about how the cost of the dress didn't meet the thresholds for a lawsuit. Okay, I took my butt straight to the internet, posted in the legal advice subreddit, and googled the thresholds for small claims courts in Virginia before printing out all of the responses I got and forcing him to read them. He conceded that she owed us something and called her, with me sitting there. As I sat there, I kid you not, he argued with her for all of 5 minutes before she broke down sobbing, accused him of not loving her, called me trash for turning him against her, and how could money be more important than her love for him? He actually soothed her and told her that he understood, but I'm being super emotional over the dress and this would help it blow over. She started babbling and sobbing, and he said that he'd talk to me. After they hung up, he had the nerve to turn to me and say that all he wanted was peace and to please just let him pay for the dress and let this go away. I lost it. I screamed at him. I cried harder than I probably ever have cried because I honestly feel that he took her side over mine. I told him that it wasn't about the dress, and that if he genuinely believed that this was over an overpriced dress at this point, then we needed to cancel the wedding and he and his mommy could have a nice vacation to Colombia without me. We argued and, like he's been doing, told me that he saw my point. I told him that I didn't want her at the wedding. Shockingly, he agreed. I sat next to him the next day when he called her and told her that because of what happened, couldn't have her at the wedding. I actually felt proud when he hung up on her after she screamed and sobbed about how he can't do this. I began to consider that maybe I was wrong about how he refused to stand up to his mother. Oh no, why doesn't the story end there? That is, until I was on our shared iPad. I rarely use the iPad because I'm way happier with my Kindle, but I'll reach for the iPad in the rare event that my Kindle is out of juice and my phone is out of reach. While I was using it, what pops up but messages from future mother-in-law asking about the best way to purchase discounted flights to Colombia. I scrolled through the messages and he had folded the very next day, saying that he had disinvited her for my sake, but he still wanted her at the wedding, that he'd slowly work on changing my mind, and hopefully on the weekend of the wedding, I'd be feeling forgiving and welcome her, and if not, I could deal with it. I just lost my mother-flipping mind. I actually packed my bags. He was the one that ended up leaving to stay with his friend while I stayed in the house. The fight wasn't pretty, and that's about where we're at right now. We have both committed to couples counseling. It's a must. I feel played right now, and that's what he was trying to do. Play both sides. We both agreed that the best thing to do for us is to postpone the wedding until trust is reestablished, deposits be damned, and if anyone asks, I tell them the entire story. Mother-in-law has decided to come between us in the worst way. Future mother-in-law, for the most part, is fuming and trying to spin this into me being a trashy, greedy harpy that's determined to bring her and her precious baby nothing but misery. She's tried to come to our house several times to collect her baby and his belongings, but I haven't answered the door. Fiance, to his credit, has blocked her on his phone and hasn't told her where he's living right now. He's gone no contact and has agreed to no contact until we begin therapy. He's turned over all of his passwords and the iPad so I can check his messages when I want to. And trust me, I'm checking. I love him. I want to be able to go the distance with him. While future mother-in-law is in the picture, I just don't think I can. Goodness sake, I'm looking through his email account and messages for contact from his mother. I can't even begin to explain just how screwed up that is. Sorry for the long post. Please wish us luck in therapy. I'm having a hard time keeping my hopes up. This has been the worst month. And so that seems to be where things and never mind! Now mother-in-law is getting aggressively stalkerish. Let me know if you think this is crazy or just a passionate mother caring about her baby. There's several new things to report. One being that my fiance has kept to his end of the bargain. He's had no contact with future mother-in-law. How do I know? I'm religiously checking his accounts. And she's also losing her mind. This week, I've woken up to the following. My Ring app has gone off 4 times, all at odd hours of the night. It's her. I have footage footage of her shoving notes under my door. Nasty notes shoved under the door demanding to talk to my fiance and accusing me of driving a wedge between them. Text messages asking me why I'm forbidding contact between fiance and his mother and how unnatural it is to stop a son from seeing his mother. I'm going to burn in hell and am a disgrace to womanhood, said the woman trying to have an incestual relationship with their own son. She's come to my work. When I refused to see her, security escorted her out. When I pulled out of the parking garage, I saw her waiting by the employee entrance. Fiance and I typically go shopping on Wednesday nights. She knows this because she's gone with us a couple of times. Guess who was waiting for us in the parking lot at 7 p.m. We didn't get out of the car after we saw her pacing around the entrance. I documented everything just in case she continues to get crazier. Fiance and I will be going to the local police department tomorrow to file a report and look into getting a temporary restraining order. Thank you to everyone who's offered me kind words, support, and even offers of baked goods. You guys are wonderful. I really appreciate you. Yeah, so this is definitely not a concluded story, but sadly I don't think we will be getting any more updates, as technically this story is about 5 years old. Either way, I think it's fair to say that if it's been 5 years since any more drama, it's likely because they didn't really end in a positive note. But hey, props to them for at least trying in this relationship. Well, at least she was trying. Hard to argue if the fiance was really doing the best they could. Anyway, that will do us for today. Thank you for watching. Drink some water. Love your face. I'll end it here because I gotta go eat. I'm hungry. Bye!